University. Today we are going to have a guest lecture under the title Introduction to Linguistic in English Education that will be delivered by our special lecturer who I am inviting her to be a speaker here, Associate Professor Dr. Susi Herti Afriani, SSM PhD. She is a head of Office of International Affairs of State Islamic University of Raden Fatah, Palembang. She has graduated from Australia, from Western Sydney University, Australia, and I know that I'm very well known that Bu Susi is very famous linguist, yeah, who will give us her experience in linguistics. So let's listen together. Let's pay attention. Let's focus on what Bu Susi will give to us about the introduction of linguistics in English education. And for all students, that this is our guest lecture that you can apply this into your daily activity. We have also the material for linguistic for English education, so you can use it and as your personal experience to enhance your capability in terms of your teachers' education in regard to the linguistic area. All right, thank you so much again for Bu Susi for your willingness to join us as a speaker today in this graduate academic forum, especially for guest lecture. And for all students, let's listen together, focus together, pay attention together to what who Bu Susi will convey to us and explain to us. Thank you so much, all. And I back to our master of ceremony, Nur Fadil Hasham, dan sallallahu alaihi Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Kepala Prodi Magister Bahasa Inggris FITK UIN. Selanjutnya masuklah kita ke acara inti, yaitu acara yang kita nantikan penyampaian dari narasumber yang luar biasa. Dari gelarnya saja kita lihat narasumber kita ini Ibu Susi Herti Afriani, SSM PhD. Masya Allah. Mudah-mudahan kita ketularan ilmu yang luar biasa dari pemateri, ibu narasumber pada hari ini. Nah, selanjutnya untuk memandu sesi ini kami akan menyerahkan kepada moderator. Pada moderator kita ini adalah alumni dari MTBI ini sendiri, alumni yang sangat luar biasa. Mudah-mudahan kali ini beliau dapat memandu acara seminar ini dengan baiknya nanti. Baiklah, kami serahkan kepada Sister Horma Brutu untuk memandu acara ini. Kepada Sister Horma Brutu, dipersilahkan.
Okay, thank you Miss Dila. Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, well, today we are going to have a great discussion, in Graduate Academic Forum, actually in guest lecture with the title is Introduction to Linguistics in English Education. And especially, we have a speaker, Ma'am Susi Herti Afriani SS, MHUM PhD, who will be the great speaker today that will deliver to us a valuable insight about the linguistics in English education. But first of all, the Honorable Sir Mas Latif Dwi Purnomo PhD as the head of Master's Program of English Education Department in UIN Sumatera Utara Medan, the Honorable Miss and Sir as the lecturer in this forum who have joined this Zoom meeting, and the Honorable especially for our great speaker, Ma'am Susi Herti Afriani SF MHUM PhD, who will deliver the introduction to linguistics in English education. Well, guys, without wasting the time, I think it's time for us to straightforward to our speaker. So let's listen carefully, and then we will have a discussion after this. Okay, to Ma'am Susi, time and screens are yours, ma'am, please.
Well, thank you very much, Ibu Hotma Brutu, ya. The same as our name, ya, Pak Dur Brutu. We have also Dur Brutu here in Palembang. Our Honorable Professor Dr. Tin Rafiq, ya, Dean of Faculty of Tarbiyah Science and Teacher Training. Bapak Mas Latif Dwi Purnomo PhD, Head of Master Program of English Education. Ibu Reflina, Secretary of Master Program of English Education. All lecturer, Pak Bajuri Sahnan, Ibu Yuli Asmala, Ibu Nur Fadila Syam, all student, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wabarakatuh.
Hamdan wa syukron lillah, summa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'du. Good morning, I am so happy to meet you all this morning. Actually, Pak Mas Latif has already invited me since we have a small talk conversation when I was in Medan, yeah, few months ago. I was so happy at that time because Pak Mas Latif invited me as a friend to talk about linguistic in any area, and also maybe specifically today I will share in English education. But before starting my sharing, allow me to tell you that I'm also still a learner, yeah, not a great speaker. I'm still learning because I have just graduated from Western Sydney University, Australia, when I met Pak Mas Latif, yeah, in 2022, yeah. But hopefully, based on my experience studying in linguistic department, I can share little knowledge to you all, and hopefully this meeting will be berkah forever and for you all, yeah. As a Malay people, I believe that all of you has used to, yeah, to open every session with pantun. I have created one special verse for you this morning. Mendapat daun si anak dara. Tolong dibantu cakepnya. Mendapat daun si anak dara. Di bawah sarang burung tempura. Salam santun pembuka acara. Selamat datang untuk semua. Thank you very much for coming. And also thank you very much for the silaturahim. Pak Mas Latif, Ibu Hotma, are you happy that I can start to share my screen now?
Yes, we are.
Sure, bro, sure. Yeah, we can start.
Okay. So you can have this PDF later on, yeah, after the class, after the guest lecture finish. So you can give a good attention to what I have talked about. Don't worry. So if you see this picture, I just graduated from 2021, yeah, in Western Sydney University, Australia. And at that time, I was lucky because my rector, Professor Dr. Nyayu Khadijah, and other leaders supported me to attend this graduation ceremony. So, Ibu Hotma Brutu, Pak Latif, ladies and gentlemen, this is the best moment that I ever had, yeah. I never imagined that I can finish that study because as everybody know, learning is not easy. But actually the process of being the real scholar is the journey itself, yeah. So I am so happy to meet you all today because I can share little bit about my research regarding linguistic. But before that, allow me to introduce myself. If you see the background, I graduated in Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta 20, almost 24 years ago from English Linguistic and Literature. And my concentration, Pak Latif, when we were in bachelor degree, we have put our choice the three concentration: literature, linguistic, and translation, Pak Latif. So we choose that kind of concentration in 7th semester, yeah. Maybe you have that kind of concentration as well, so the student will be happy to choose what their intention.
For
And
me,
after
qualification and
having,
education, as you see.
yeah, okay, great to know. So after having my graduation in Yogyakarta, I was moved to Universitas Indonesia since I was selected from Ford Foundation Scholarship, Beasiswa Masyarakat dan Budaya di Indonesia. I studied again Pragmatics, in Linguistic Department, and finished in 2009, ya. After having marriage Pak Latif for 10 years, ya, and having 3 children, Bu Hotmah, ya, I almost forget to pursue my doctor. But then I realized since so many people try to follow and join some competition regarding awardee scholarship, and then I try to prepare myself in 2000, if I am not mistaken, 2016, yeah. And then lucky again, after having 2 years preparation, I was selected as Mora awardee, the same as Pak Mas Latif, ya, Ministry of Religious Affairs Scholarship awardee. And then choose linguistic department at Western Sydney University, Australia, because it's as one of the best university in Australia. They have also memorandum of understanding with our Ministry of Religious Affairs, so it will help us in so many ways. Yeah. And then if you see my picture, we really need this in our journey. Yeah? And in the left side of yours, it is a vice rector, counselor, and also my support system when I was finished my study in Western Sydney. We call her Dr. Susan Mowbray, and she helped us with her skill, especially as study smart advisor. I always join her academic writing Saturday boot camp, and every effort that can help all non-native speaker of English to improve their English. Because in the first of study, I believe Pak Mas Latif also agree, we have difficulty to adapt with the high standard of rank, and also we have to adapt with academic writing achievement. Yeah, so you are not alone, Bapak Ibu. Even me, although I have already studied English since I was in junior high school, but in the first year of study, when we move to another country, when we have different culture and different culture background, we really need to adapt the situation. And the motivation behind is that because you love the study, because you love your family, and you want to do it because you love it. So then we create a community, Bu Hotma Brutu, ya, called Linguistic Research Group. So if you see the right side of the picture, I took picture with associate. Now he is a professor, Professor Robert Malhammer. He is the secretary of Linguistic Association in Australia. Yeah. So I was so proud to be one of his student, because he's not only famous, but he's really charismatic, full of skills, and also encourage his student to study, to love linguistics. And in the right side, I have so many students from different cultural background, from Chinese, Scotlandia, yeah, and so many students from Australia as well. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I believe that one of the motivation when you want to study in English education, in master program, or in linguistic, because you love the science of language. You choose this because you love to be an educator. You love to be a scientist. So we have to do it because we have that kind of good deed, yeah, good intention in our heart. Why we want to study linguistic? Why it is important, why it is matter. You have to provide personal reason. So if you have difficulty in your journey during your master degree in master programs of English education in Faculty of Tarbiyah Science and Teacher Training in UIN Sumatera Utara, you go back again to your attention. You see again what is actually what are you going to do actually with your journey. So this is the background, and move on now to one of the writing that I have written with ibu-ibu, ya, ibu-ibu in Sydney, Australia. we have written 3 or 4 books regarding our journey, not only in academic writing. Pak Mas Ladip, you know, because we have some difficult time, we need writing for healing, yeah. So if you have problem during your journey, you not going anywhere, you write. So whatever happen, everything happen for a reason. You start to write your writing. What did you feel? How do you face the problem? And so on and so on. So in the left side, Ibu Hotma, Bu Yuli, and Pak Mas Latif, it is a combination of 10 to 14 writers, ibu-ibu, all of them ibu-ibu in Sydney. All of them are not only student researcher, but also some of them also housewife who are really productive to face the problem. So from this writing for healing, I understand that actually it is just a journey. So PhD or other degree is just a journey. This is just small part of your life. This is not the end of your life. So I can love and understand that Allah really love us. If we pursue our study even in master degree or PhD degree, you will understand that this is spiritual of journey. So this is part of your life that you will understand at the end of your study. Yeah. And in the right side, if you see the picture, the magic book, it is one of the writing of my daughter. I have 3 children, as I told you, yeah. And the oldest one is Najwa Alisa Fauzi. She loved writing as well, the same as anak Pak Mas Latif and others, because since they arrived in Australia, so they start to speak English all the time, Bu Hotma. Not only for sleeping or dreaming, but also when they fighting each other with their sister or brother, yeah. So English, yeah, English is considered as a daily language compared to Indonesia. Of course, we understand that English is still considered as international language. We will talk a little bit about this later on. And what I'm going to switch now is academically
Lucy,
speaking
sorry.
what I
Lucy,
want to
sorry.
share.
Lucy,
Yes,
sorry. I
yes.
think your slide is stuck. Is it?
Oh, my star, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah,
How about this?
Yeah.
that's okay now. Yeah,
Okay,
good,
okay.
good. Yeah.
How
All
about
right.
this?
All right, good. Yeah, yes, yeah. So you can appear.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. I just start to talk and don't realize that it's stuck. Is it working now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So this is what I was talking about, the book that we have written together to write for healing, yeah? And now, thank you, Pak Mas Latif. And now, allow me to move to the serious one. Not really serious, actually, but only little experience that I have already learned that I need to share. Yeah. So if you see the structure, what I'm going to share this morning, Pak Mas Latif, Ibu Hotma, is the introduction to linguistic itself, which I believe all the students here have already familiar with. Yeah. But maybe you have insight on this. Yeah. And I will little bit talk about macro and micro linguistic, which some curriculum now define this differently, and we have to redesign our curriculum in English education or even in Arabic. Oh yeah, I forget to tell you that my home base, Pak Mas Latif and Ibu Hotma, was not in English education department because we graduated as humaniora or humanities degree. That's why I teach for 14 years in Arabic linguistic and literature, bahasa dan sastra Arab. So the one and only who cannot speak Arabic in that department is me, Pak Mas Latif. Yeah. But I also invited to teach in English education department in UIN Raden Fatah Palembang. Differ or compare from UIN Sumatera Utara, UIN Raden Fatah Palembang only have S1 or bachelor degree. That's why we really inspired by UIN Sumatera Utara, and hopefully we can learn about the structure and about how to create and pursue master degree program later on. Yeah. And after telling this, I will also show you an example of linguistic research which has already published in 2022. And based on this research, Pak Mas Latif, we have already published 4 articles, yeah, which one of the article indexed by Scopus, yeah. So what is the research about? It's about cultural linguistic practices in Palembang Niche Moraine Directive Indonesia, a discourse analysis, yeah. Okay, now move on to this. If you see these 2 picture, it seems that I like blue because the first one is the cover of my book entitled An Introduction to Linguistics. It is published by Ombak Publisher, Yogyakarta, 2015. And the second one is Pragmatics, Raden Fata Press, 2023. As the lecture of the linguistic, of course, I believe almost some lecturer in that area have already written about this. So in my book, in An Introduction to Linguistics, I have written some micro linguistic, which call phonology, morphology, semantics, and some macro-linguistic been analyzed. And it is a practical guide. I believe that a student who comes from S1 or bachelor degree department will like this kind of guidance, yeah. And the second one is just published. It's called Pragmatics 2023, the realization of politeness strategies in English directive in Indonesian and Malaysian university environments. One of the state of the art of linguistics that has already been discussed long time ago and some debatable on it is called pragmatics. And I believe that some of you have already familiar with this, yeah? Since pragmatic is called the state of the art of linguistics, ilmu mutakhir dalam ilmu bahasa, ya. So, I believe that the importance of pragmatic as a field of study has grown along with a deeper understanding of the way language is used in everyday context. I believe some of you agree with this one and others not agree. But if we admit that we meet speech act in daily conversation, we will understand how important to study pragmatics. Yeah. So in an academic setting, for example, you meet where cultural differences between you and another speaker, like today meeting, for example, I am Palembangese and Mas Latif Jawanese, although he live in Medanese, yeah, it will have communication habit and also insight toward what we are reflected toward our conversations, yeah. So, Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, in Norway this context, some curriculum, like what I have told you, have already differentiated this kind of scheme. At least the student have already finished, yeah, and passed the study of how the utterance or how the sound produced in every language, yeah, even it is Arabic, Chinese, English, in every department. So the student now has already taken phonetics followed by phonology, yeah, phonetics and followed by phonology. If the student now have already completed the study of the sound, they have come and learn about morphology. How we define this as the study on how morpheme in every language define, yeah. Compare, for example, in Indonesian, you will not find so interesting if you learn Arabic or English. In Arabic, for example, you understand or learn the concept of free morpheme and bound morpheme, which actually you can as well in Indonesia, which the student just not realize about this. But we open all the construction of all language in the world. Actually, they have the specific morpheme, the smallest meaning of language that can differentiate the meaning. Yeah. And then follow again by syntaxis, how the words is arranged and have the construction of it. For example, since I was in Arabic department, not only subject verb object as the ideal construction. You will find any construction in Arabic and also Japan, for example. If the student only understands subject verb object as the ideal construction, actually it's not happen in Japanese, ya, bahasa Jepang. For example, saya tidak mengerti bahasa Jepang. Watashi wa nihongo o wakarimasen. People will understand this as subject verb object, but actually not. The object come first, followed by verb, ya. Watashi wa subject, nihon bahasa Jepang, wakarimas verb, and seng not means that subject plus object plus verb and not, ya. So it is interesting if we can provide the ideal example to our student, so they will learn about the beauty of the science of language, yeah, syntaxis, and then followed by semantics. In microlinguistic, the students need also to understand the semantic, where we try to understand the complexity, the meaning of language. For example, if the student understands Susie is a cat, is acceptable in English, structurally acceptable. How about Susie is a cat semantically? What do you think? For example, Pak Bajuri Sanan and other students. Do you think that Susie is a cat is acceptable in English? Do you think it is acceptable? Susie is a cat?
Yes. Yes.
Susie it's a cat. Susie it's predicate and a cat is an object. Do you think it is acceptable in semantics?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Agree. Why? It is not logic, Ma'am Susie. Why? Because we understand the component analysis of Susie is a cat. Structurally, it is acceptable. It is well formed. Subject Susie. It's because singular plus S and a cat is an object. But semantically, it is not logic, Miss Susie. So Susie is a cat in semantic point of view is not logic and is not acceptable. That's why when the student learn about semantic, they will learn also about the componential analysis. Who is Susie? Who is the agent? Who is the verb? And how that the context, denotation and connotation play a role in the sentence, yeah. And then you will move to the macro analysis when the student will learn about the bigger picture of the science of linguistics, of the science of language. They will learn the relation between language and culture, for example, or the relation between language and society in sociolinguistics. They also will learn about anthropolinguistics, and now what is quite distinctive and consider attract the intention of linguists is linguistic corpus. When the students see a bound or a combination of so many texts and you have to do the analysis by computer. So it is interesting. And when you learn about biolinguistic, neurolinguistic, psycholinguistic, and discourse analysis. And the last one that I have just mentioned is what I want to share today, when you will understand discourse analysis in two point of view. The first point of view is discourse analysis is considered as theory, and the second one, discourse analysis, which can consider as methodology, yeah. So, if you remember the definition of discourse analysis, when people define, or Renkema or others, many scholars in the world define this as the study or the relation between form and function. Let's now, we go to one example of my research that has already written, taught, and also discussed for 4 years, yeah. I believe that Pak Mas Latif smile because it's not easy to come to the end of this form, yeah. We need to revise at least every chapter based on my experience, at least 5 to 10 times to consider that it is acceptable by our supervisor. So, allow me to share my experience, Bapak Ibu, ya, in an example of linguistic research, ya. We call linguistic murni because the impact, of course, will can be for culture point of view, students and others, yeah. But although it is not directly impacted, people think in English education, but the methodology can show. So, ladies and gentlemen, the title from the cover is Cultural Linguistic Practices in Palembangese Humor and Directive in Indonesia, a Discourse Analysis. You will find later on what is the function of discourse analysis here. Is it a theory or is it a methodology? And this thesis submitted to partial fulfillment of the requirement for the degree of Doctor Philosophy from my school, School of Humanities and Communication Art, Western Sydney University, Australia. Yeah. Okay, so in linguistic research, yeah, I believe also in any other area of discipline, when you start doing a research, the most important question that comes or asked by your supervisor or asked by other scholar is why, yeah, rational on why did your research is important to be investigated. You need to find this kind of rational in order to answer that you need to contribute from the body of the knowledge to the small part of the word. So you need to think about why. Why, even me, to think about why did I do this research? Is it important to be investigated? Is it matter? And you need at least to read 40 to 80 papers before having that kind of firm answer, yeah? So, in my case, Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, why this research is important? I understand that many people have already talked about cultural humor and directive in many language in the world. But maybe the context or the realization of the Palembang Malay language compared to other culture and language can be differ, Bapak Ibu. That's the first reason. The second one, after reading 40 to 80 articles, I believe that there must be a distinctive analysis of the humor and directive as a cultural artifact practices. Okay, before explaining more, I believe that all the students here understand what the directive is, yeah? Maybe some student would like to help me. What is a directive now? Directive Speech Act? Atika Winara Putri? Who want to try to answer? Pak Mas Latif, maybe you can choose one of your student that I really just have met
where
this
is
morning.
Novia? Novia is talking about the Speech Act. Especially.
Oh, really? Interesting. Hi, Novi.
Novia? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's very important for you, Novia, because your title is Explicit Speech Act, right? So you can talk about the Speech Act and discuss with Bu Susi now. Novia, please.
What is directive, Novia?
As I know, Directive Speech Act talks about tindak tutur to ask the hearer to do something.
Oh, good. Very good. Good point. Good answer. Thank you very much, Novi. So now,
Yes, ma'am.
based on this, yes. Thank you very much, Novia. So When you learn about speech act, you will understand that three kinds of basic utterances, which call locutionary act, illocutionary act, and perlocutionary act. If you understand locutionary as a basic utterance, when you try to convey the message, like what I have just now did to Pak Mas Latif, you talk in the term of illocutionary act. And when it is resulted something, memberikan dampak, tuturan tersebut memberikan dampak, means that you did a perlocutionary act. And directive is based on the first type of classification of the speech act, based on the illocutionary act. It is one type of that kind of function, when that kind of speech act try to ask, the speaker ask the listener to do something, and it is really potentially face-threatening acts. Dan ini sangat berpotensi mengancam muka. So, if for example, I borrow a book, may I borrow a book to Pak Mas Latif Dwi Purnomo? Maybe Pak Mas Latif will just answer, yes, no worry, Bu Susi, I will send the book soon. But if I change the request or the directive, Pak Purnomo, may I borrow your money? Only 500 rupiah, Pak Mas Latif. And Pak Mas Latif will answer maybe, I think about it, Bu Susi. It is a kind of the degree of the directive. And if I borrow, for example, Pak Mas Latif, may I borrow your wife? Untuk apa, Bu Susi? Only to talk or go to Palembang, it will also have the potential of the face-threatening act. So in directive, there is level of face-threatening acts when the listener will have the potential of threatening, but what is interesting in this context, in my research, that the directive is part of the humor itself. You will understand later on, So the directive then can be in the form of advice, request, direct request, or instruction. Although it is potentially face-threatening act, but the Palembang people accept this as part of humor itself and as a cultural artifact practices. And based on the data I have analyzed, it is then important to investigate, is it really face-threatening act in the three data sets of Palembangese analysis? Let's now try to prove. And the first data set that we use in this research, 30 text, Pak Mas Latif, The first type, Bu Hotma, is called kelakar betok of Palembangese humor. Kelakar betok, from the word kelakar. Betok means a fish, sejenis ikan betok. So kelakar betok is defined as only talking. So there is no actually design or, for example, purpose of something, but just talking when people of Palembangese try to maintain their social relationship. So people of Palembang, is familiar with their kelakar in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. So for example, if I meet Pak Bajuri Sahnan, Pak Bajuri, nak kemana? Ado gawe. So that's the answer of Pak Bajuri. So everyone, based on the culture of Palembang, answer by ado gawe. Ado gawe, or banyak gawe is identical as BG, BG itu plat nomor Palembang. So people understand this as the common greeting in Palembang, Pak Mas Latif. So in the morning, if I meet Pak Bajuri, nak kemana? Mau pergi kemana? Ado gawe. So, although you will not have your gawe, you will answer ado gawe. This is called one example of kelakar betok in Palembangese, And the second type of my data is stem text of ceramah Islamic speeches. Ceramah Islam from Kiai or Ustad, or we call Ustazah. in Palembang. And one of the most popular is Almarhum Kiai Haji Taufik Hasnuri. I can share the video later on if you love to listen. Yeah, when he persistently used the Palembang Malay language in delivering her speech, so it amuse the funniest and invite people to laugh together. Yeah, so when people is actually having advice, they did not realize that they accept the directive. We will find this interesting later on, ya. And the third type, yang bentuk ketiga, is called Cerita Mang Juhai or Uncle Juhai story. Uncle Juhai story is a form of conversation in Palembang Post newspaper, and I provide also this example as well as textual humor. So based on my data, I have textual humor, spoken language, and the written one. Yeah. Okay, now move on to this literature view and theoretical framework, Bapak Ibu. Allow me to make it bigger, yeah, so you will see bigger. Can you see this, Bapak Ibu? So in linguistic research, Bapak Ibu, for doctoral degree level at Australia, we don't choose the theory only, yeah, but we need to provide why this theory matter, why is this theory important. You need to explain again the rationale of choosing a theory, ya. Jadi yang bagi mau calon S2 ini, you need to understand on why the theory is important, and even better, you can explain, ya, chronologically, philosophically on why this research is important. So, for example, the originator of the theory that I choose, Renkema, the book is about communication, and the theory that I use is called discourse and communication theory. It is quite old, this book, but I found that it is really helpful. Yeah. So there is no theory that is acceptable or not acceptable, but which one is appropriate for your research or not appropriate. And your job as a researcher need to explain why this is appropriate for your research. The second one, Austin, that I have just mentioned, yeah, Bu Hotma. Austin is really popular with the book How to Do Things with Words in 1962. And Sir, who just explored the Austin theory actually in 1979, where Austin tried to explain about the type of acts that I just mentioned, locu, illo, and perlo, the purpose of act, and the purpose of acts is actually whether it is constative or performative. And Sir tried to classify that kind of speech act. But my focus of this research in my example today is on the directive, where you have already understood that the directive in common sense, in common definition, is a type of speech act that asks listener to do something. But is it correct in Palembang Malay humor context? Wait, yeah. The third one, I choose Racine also. This is the oldest theory as well, Pak Mas Latif, ya, in 1985, which is called script-based semantic theory of humor. There are so many theory of humor in the world, but I choose Ruskin theory because all the analysis based on script. So there is a speaker and listener, and this is what I have found in my data. The current one is Attardo, 1994. It's called linguistic theory of humor. Yeah, why Attardo is also important because we have already explained and find here. And followed by Partington, 2006, affective face theory and affiliation alignment, where we see every speaker or every listener in this context as people who has a public image. Public image or self-esteem here did not define as a face in physical form, of course, but it is defined as a harga diri, self-esteem, where many people need to be appreciated and many people have the right to speak. So we need to respect. But is it happen in humor? Of course not. Are you sure that every people really need to follow the communication rule as we find in, for example, the principle of Maxim that people need to be a cooperative? Do you agree that people need to be really cooperative in conversation? I don't believe it because nobody like to be arranged in their conversation. Like what I asked, for example, in Pak Maslati. Pak Maslati, are you going to have your seminar in morning? Yes, I am. Do you think that it is interesting? I don't think so. So what is interesting in linguistic research now, if the kind of conversation is violating, yeah, is violating the role. This is interesting. Why? If it is interesting means there is insight on it, there is implication on it, and that's a job. That is a job of the linguist, yeah. The last one that is really popular is the theory from Brown and Levinson, 1978 to 1987, which call politeness strategies. And in politeness strategies, we consider the 5 of strategy that people talk in daily conversation. So in mitigating the face-threatening acts, the students, the speaker or the listener need to understand this one. What is called? Politeness strategies number 1, ball on record, yeah? Ball on record, what does it mean? Maybe some students here have already familiar with this theory. In bahasa Indonesia, we call this bertutur terus terang tanpa basa-basi. Ya, Pak Mas Latif. Ball mean botak, ya. On record means terbuka, terang sekali, ya. Ball on record means you have that kind of utterance direct to the listener, ya. For example, you said that, Hotma, bring that pen to me. It's called ball on record, ya. Ball on record. The second one, ball on record with redressive action with positive politeness, with the 16 step strategy that they have. The third one, ball on record with redressive action with negative politeness. Although it is called negative, but does not mean the meaning is negative, Bapak Ibu, ya. So ball on record with redressive action with negative politeness means that you have that kind of strategy to over the people to mitigate the face. For example, yeah, Pak Mas Latif, if I have not mistaken, you have that kind of pagar. In English, you call hedges, yeah? Hedges. Pak Mas Latif, if I am not mistaken, you said that the class is start at 10. However, I found some students consider my class as a supermarket. Nah, when you say I consider my class as a supermarket, actually the lecturer was angry to the student who consider their class as supermarket. When the student can come and go from his or her class as they like. So actually it is a speech act and it is considered the strategy of politeness. This is important, ya, nak. If you want to achieve your goal in conversation, you have to be master in this theory, ya, in politeness theory. So you will achieve your goal easier, yeah, than saying or something like that. This is important for linguists. The fourth one, yang keempat, is called off-record strategy, Bu Hotma. Off-record means bertutur secara samar-samar, ya. Tend to have that kind of strategy, Pak, compared to Sumatra, yeah. And Professor Asim Gunarwan as well has already proved from his research, yeah. So you will find when you live in Yogyakarta, for example, you will find that your conversation or the way you deliver your intention is different. So if you live in Australia, if you live in Inggris, or you live in Japan, it will really differ, yeah. You sound that, what does it mean? Yeah. But if you meet Palembangese like me, Palembangese and Medanese, yeah, it is quite the same. Why? Because we almost have share the same culture, Bapak Ibu ya. We tend to have number one rather than number four strategi ya. Lebih suka yang bertutur terus terang tanpa basa-basi daripada yang samar-samar ya Pak Paslatin. Okay, we can talk later on the strategy, and the last one, say nothing. Even say nothing, Bapak Ibu, it is also the strategy in linguistic ya. Diam saja pun bertutur sebenarnya. If you cannot answer that question, for example, your parent asks you, "Are you pregnant?" For example, with that kind of angry face, you just keep silent, means that you act something actually, yeah. Okay, now the last theory that I use is Faber and Wilson, is called the relevance theory. This is the overview, yeah, of the theory that I use. So as linguists, you have to understand the theory before having your data. So when you did your analysis, you are ready already, yeah. Okay, now move on to research methodology. The research design of the current study is called a mixed method, Bapak Ibu, ya. A mixed method. And why do you choose mixed method? Also, you need to provide the rationale. And the research philosophy is called positivist and interpretivist perspective, where you have that kind of grounded theory, but you also have that kind of assumption or call hypothesis. So you're really ready to prove that kind of data. And my research strategy that I call here is discourse analysis. So the methodology of this research is called discourse analysis. The data sources is 30 texts, yeah, from documents, spoken language, kelakar betok, from YouTube video that really accessible and available everywhere you can access, yeah. Spoken language and written language. So based on my here the rationale of the methodology, if you see the picture, I will make it bigger. So please consider that every research question that you written in linguistic, you have to provide the research element and data analysis, sampling and data needed, and data collection or other details. For example, Bapak Ibu, for example, number one, you are looking for the cultural linguistic practices in Palembangese Sumeren Directive Indonesia. What kind of analysis will you do in your research? And here I wrote quantitative, qualitative analysis, linguistic, and cultural analysis. Actually, there are so many types of this rational of methodology, ya, Mas Latif, Ibu Hotma, but because I don't have much time, I will only give the big overview of this one. And the sampling data needed is 30 popular texts in Palembangese. Why I call popular? Also, we need to define what kind of popular we mean here, ya. 10 video of kelakar betok, 10 video and recording of ceramah Islamic speech from YouTube and from television as well, and 10 written text of Cerita Mang Juhai, or I translated into Uncle Juhai story from Palembang Post newspaper. And you can see the documents, see the detail in section 454.7. I can also share my dissertation after this if you are happy to read 800 pages, ya. 250 for chapter 1 until chapter 8, Pak Mas Latif, and the rest is the data cultural linguistic analysisnya, ya. Okay, number 2, the question regarding I want to find the commonality and differences among the 3 data set. It is really interesting. Why? Because you will did the discourse comparative analysis. It is really interesting, yeah. When you see the bigger picture of the data collection and you try to compare them, of course you will find the commonality and the differences. But what are they? It is matter. And the last one, yang terakhir, exploration of how data work in Palembangese society by discourse analysis. Nah, here we go. Your competency as a researcher, as the main instrument of the research in discourse analysis is important. You need really to stand up by the theory and also by the background of the linguist itself. As Palembangese, of course, I need to be very careful in analysis this because I need to be professional when analyze this data. Not because I'm Palembangese, but because I'm a scholar and an instrument of the research. Yeah. Nah, ini hati-hati, jangan sampai terjebak. Okay, now we move on to the result. Let me show you a quantitative analysis. This is only small part, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have time to explain all the detail. So, for example, ya nak, the quantitative analysis one, if you see in the figure, you will see, for example, the distribution of the key feature that are most frequent. So, basically, what we will do in the first time as linguist, you will see the most frequent or the occurrence, ya, kekerapan kemunculan. Biasanya itu yang dianalisis secara kuantitatif untuk kata. So the level unit of analysis in linguistic is called phoneme, morpheme, naik lagi apa? Word, ya, phrase, clause, sentence, and utterance. If you are in the level of pragmatics or discourse analysis, of course you will see utterance as the basic unit of analysis, yeah. So figure 5.1, for example, so the appearance of dominant feature in the three data sets, yeah. You see that what is the most 320 times. Yang paling banyak itu ternyata apa? Role of participants occur most frequently in the kelakar betok. So when we compare the three data set, you will see what is the dominant. Meanwhile, Arabic language item are the most frequently uttered, yeah, feature in ceramah Islamic speech. Of course, it is acceptable because compared from Kelakar Betok and Uncle Juhai, ceramah Islamic speech will use two languages at least, Palembang Malay language and Arabic language. That's why if Arabic language item are the most frequently uttered feature, it is acceptable, yeah. Okay, can you read first the question of qualitative analysis then? Excuse me, I drink a second, yeah. Okay, thank you for waiting. Okay, now from the qualitative analysis point of view, we go back to the research question that we have just focused on, yeah. First, you need to explain based on the quantitative data that you have collected, yeah. You need to be able to explain why, for example, are the humor and directive funny. And based on the discourse analysis theory that you use, how do humor and directive rely on local cultural knowledge for Palembangese interlocutor audience? This is challenging. I call this challenging because it is difficult to explain why it is funny to the people that is not share the same cultural background. But that is our job, yeah. Because if you see that it is funny from your own language, from your culture, it is easy for you to understand that it is funny. But for me, for example, to explain that this is funny based on my context, but people not find funny, it will be a problem, isn't it? Ya, jadi kalau waktu saya tunjukkan video ini, apakah ini lucu menurut teman-teman ya? Let me give you a context ya. Saya stop share dulu. I will give you one example from ceramah almarhum Kiai Haji Taufik Hasnuri ya.
atau kurang, maka wuduk kita tadi tidak sah. Setiap wuduknya sah, insya Allah wuduknya benar. Tapi kalau wuduknya benar, belum tentu wuduknya sah. Jadi setiap sah insya Allah benar, setiap benar belum tentu sah. Sama dengan solat. Setiap batal solat belum tentu batal wuduk. Tapi kalau batal wuduk pasti batal solat. Wong batal solat belum tentu dia batal wuduk. Misal dia lagi solat terbuka auratnya, lagi solat kejatuhan najis, itu solatnya batal. Tapi wuduknya tidak batal. Tapi wong yang wuduknya batal pasti solatnya batal. Ya. Pertama syarat sah wuduk al-islamu. Jadi yang disebut wong ambil wuduk sah itu kalau dia wong Islam. Kalau bukan Islam tidak disebut dia sebagai ambil wuduk. Jadi kalau dia masuk air namanya beraub. Kalau dia masuk tangan sampai sikut namanya yo masuk baik tangan, cuma itu. Nah, kalau kita wuduk. Wat tamyizu. Tamyiz ini budak yang belum akil baligh tapi sudah ngerti. Akil baligh itu kan sudah pelajaran yang kita pelajari sehari itu. Kalau betina sudah datang haid, kalau lanang atau betina mimpi berhubungan badan atau usianya sudah mencapai 15 tahun, itu baligh. Kalau budak tamyiz ini budak umur 8 tahun sudah ngerti, tahu yang mana kencing, mana mesing, mana makan, mana minum, bahkan duit pun sudah tahu. Itu sudah disebut sebagai tamyiz. Ada budak main hari umur 8 tahun lah pacak macam ikhra 1, ikhra 2. Karena dia ngaji dia umur 2 tahun. Dah dia tahu ini anak kami umur 3 tahun yang kecil. Pacak lah ngikin 1 sampai 10. 1, 2. Ini berapa? 2. Ini 3 nak. Kau umur 3 tahun. Kan dia dengar upin-ipin itu. Alif, ba, ta. Hurufnya dijingoknya di TV. Jadi kalau ditunjuk ke ba aja. Umur 3 tahun. Jadi kalau dia umur 8 tahun dia sudah ada pemahaman. Macam itu. Sebanyak film di TV ibu, cuman upin itulah yang bagus, yang mendidik budak. Ya, yang cuman mendidik itu cuman upin-ipin. Yang lain tidak mendidik.
The best prayer to attract wealth begins when you understand that the strongest energy in the universe is not thought, meditation, or even the law of attraction. It's brainwaves, and more specifically,
bahkan nyusai. Film Sipa itu nyusai wong tua, anak minta beli ke sepeda terbang. Uji Azkar, anak kami nombor 2 tu, Buya beli ke sepeda macam Sipa Buya. Di mana nak nyari? Yo pacak terbang Buya, baca ini. Hai nak, film itu tu. Ni nah, pagi ni tadi berterangi sandar nombor 3. Ngubek ibunya. Anak duduk ngamuk-ngamuk. Ngapo je ku? Nak minta buatkan es pisang. Ngonya lah dengan aciknya nombor 2 tu. Ngapo cik? Adik minta buat ke ibu es pisang. Nak apa nak minta beli ke es pisang cik? Demi mana? Bukan beli Buya, muat. Dia tahu dari mana? Nyingok Kak Ros muat ke upin. Kak Ros muat ke upin Buya. Sudah 2 hari masuk kulkas, sudah keras bau makan. Sehingga dia umaknya. Dia tak tahu mak mana. Apa pisang tu dia senyuk agar, apa mak mana. Itulah. Jadi nonton itu pengaruh di budak. Jadi upin tu ya ada bagusnya mengaji, doa, cara bergaul. Dan nih, bagus juga Upin itu untuk yang tua-tua. Nunjukkan bahwa yang penting hidup ini jangan berlebihan, yang ada jadilah. Film Upin itu nak 10 tahun lebih dah. Bajunya tidak berubah. Opa dari mulai main lah tua sampai ni belum mati-mati. Upin. Tidak berubah-ubah baju. Berubah hidupnya. Opa, siapa lagi?
Well, some of you have already heard about this, yeah. But do you think that it is funny, Bapak Ibu?
Some.
Yeah, some of this sounds funny, but some not. And I believe maybe one or two of you will feel that it's not funny at all, yeah. And I understand. But this is the problem. When you need to explain about the significance cultural linguistic practices in your language and your culture. So the phrase, for example, like sepeda terbang, this is not their culture, yeah. They never imagine about the concept of sepeda terbang or Cak Inkling or Upin Ipin because they never watch, for example, Ipin Ipin in their cultural background, yeah. So the Palembang Malay language as bahasa daerah and the Lotter are the proven that this is acceptable in this context, yeah. Although the research of the audience participant has not already investigated yet, Latif, Mu'adma, yeah, and other students, yeah, but those are the evidence. The Lotter show the indication of the solidarity. When people laugh means they accept this, they understand this, and they share the same or part of the culture, yeah. So I can share then the data that may be rich for you if you want to read later on, yeah. But allow me to conclude what I have already talked today, yeah, Bapak Ibu. So in linguistic research, of course, it is very and heterogeneous, and you can start from the small data. At least you have the data. If you see text, ya, sekumpulan teks, whether it is spoken or written, it is yours, ya. So teks itu adalah data yang betul-betul Anda akan jadikan sebagai penelitian Anda, ya. Itu anak humaniora tugasnya, ya. For English Education Department, for example, you can use pragmatics research, ya, pragmatic research theory, and other tools to analyze the classroom, for example. The Speech Act, Directive Speech Act between teacher and student in classroom context. Although it is sound really familiar because some of scholars have already investigated this, but there are so many theory in linguistic research that can use. Not only deictic, yeah, presupposition, politeness, even impoliteness theory, and others that can be used for your research, yeah. So last but not least, allow me to show you the associated publication that may be beneficial for you all. You can search in Google Cendekia. The first one is 2019 publication. I have published Kelakar Betok in Palembang Malay Language, a linguistic analysis from Journal of Malay Islamic Study. You can see many Malay culture analysis here. The second one, Kala Kelakar Menyatukan Sekat. It is like a momentum, one of my appreciation to almarhum Kiai Haji Taufik Hasnuri, who had already inspired with his joke, yeah, through Palembang culture and community life. The third one, Bapak Ibu, illuminating distinctive cultural linguistic practice in Palembang humor and directive. It is published in Australia, Pak Mas Latif, in 2020 on Global Media Journal. And the last one, when I presented in Medan, ya, online, entitled Teasing, Joke and Directive, ejekan, ya, candaan dan tindak tutur direktif in Cerita Mang Johai, Uncle Johai Story, a discourse analysis of humorous text in Palembang Malay, ya. It is one of the example of written text. It is really interesting. You can search one by one if you have time. And I hope that all the students here will love and fall in love, ya, to the theory of linguistic. And believe me, if you love the science of language, you have that kind of skill. Linguistic is like mathematics. So when you learn about linguistics, the science of language, whether it is phonology, morphology, semantics, and syntaxis, micro and macro linguistic, believe me, you will reach and confidence to understand the words. Yeah, you will have word view. You will reach with your horizon, and you will have a golden moment to realize your intention in communication. I have proof as the head of Office of International Affairs, yeah, by using the theory, by using an application English in communication, I have already successful to finish so many MOA or MOU with 100 World University ranking, have successful meeting, negotiation with many people. So if you use this kind of theory and follow the rule, yeah, and read a lot, I believe that you will succeed in your study. And of course, Pak Mas Latif with his department and the team will help you to reach your dream. Okay, thank you very much, Bapak Ibu, for listening, and I hope that this experience will be beneficial for you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Susi, for the valuable insight, for the valuable experience when studying abroad, and also our discussion about linguistics, which is corroborated to education. Yeah, maybe some of us thought before that linguistic is separated from education, but in this case, we have understood that linguistic can be combined or can be used in education. For example, when we are going to teach our student by using pragmatics, maybe, or maybe as linguistics, we need to play the words, to give successful communications or to ask someone to do something. Okay, well, guys, today we have a discussion. If you have some questions maybe that we need to discuss in this forum, you may raise your hand and speak up. Is there anyone to ask questions or maybe to discuss something? Maybe for someone or for us who have the scope of research in linguistics, especially.
Yeah, especially for Novia, maybe you can share your research with Susi, Novia, because your topic is about the speech act as well, and the expressive speech act. Yeah, Novia, can you show your face, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, Novia, good. You can share with Bu Susi about your speech act research. Yeah, and you can ask her anything. Please.
Yeah. Actually, now I'm still doing my thesis research, and it talks about the expressive speech act, and the specification is about expressive speech acts, ma'am. And now I still focus on repetitions after I do, how to say, I do my research in in my school, and then now I still focus on the revisions with my lectures, especially for Mas Latif Purnomo.
Thank you very much, Novia, for sharing. What is your research about? Ngomong-ngomong, penelitiannya tentang apa?
It talks about expressive speech act.
What happened with expressive speech act?
Wait, I focus. Wait. It talks about the teacher's expressive speech acts, and it has a correlations between the motivations on the students. It means that when the teachers express something by using utterance, so it will have it will motivate students or even not motivate students in that class. So my specification talks about an expressive speech act here.
Oh, really interesting. I can get the idea now. So your research is about expressive speech act in classroom context. When you try to investigate the lecturer expression, yeah, I can imagine the situation, Mas Latif, yeah. Based on the standard of our curriculum, the students will have motivation based on the expressive speech act from the teacher. If the teacher says something good, very nice, good job, the student will feel appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah. But can we imagine if the teacher, for example, says something bad, like happened to me sometimes, yeah, when we did a research. Oh, you don't know how to conduct a research, for example, yeah. But it's not happened to you, I believe, with Pak Mas Latif, yeah. Pak Mas Latif always show the correct and appropriate expression to you, yeah. Is he?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
So this is really interesting, Pak Mas Latif, yeah. How about the data collection? How will you collect the data, Novia?
I collect the data by doing the operations, ma'am.
Yeah,
This is important.
actually, she already did collect data collection. It is about profession and as well as interview from the student and teacher. Yeah, Novia is good. She has a good topic and good passion in expressive speech act. But now she's still confused in, like describing a finding.
I see. Yeah.
But it's okay. This is a journey, yeah. But you see, it is like our journey in doing a writing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In pragmatic research, especially in classroom, Pak Mas Latif and Pak Novi, if you did interview, you can have that kind of perception result. But if you really want to gather the utterance data, one of the most popular data collection is called discourse completion task, Pak Mas Latif, ya. So there are two types of data collection. The first one, discourse completion task, we call oral. When you create a play role and try to understand their strategy, but they will answer spontaneously. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages through this method, yeah. The second one, which is easier for me, is called written discourse completion task. Yeah, I can share to Pak Mas Latif some paper if you love, yeah. And in written discourse completion task, you wrote down 10 questions and the student can answer based on that situation. For example, yeah. For example, the first question saying that you want, for example, you want to congratulate your teacher for her achievement. What do you say? titik, blank, blank, blank is the space for the student to answer. Maybe they will answer, congratulations, or I'm happy for you, and so on and so on. And that kind of expression can be collected as your data. So there are, the most popular types. If you want to add, it can be, but if you think that your data collection is enough because of qualitative framework, Mas Latif, ya, it's enough. But if you want to collect data from pragmatic research, amount of data, you can use discourse completion task. I will write down here in chat column, ya. You can search some type of discourse completion task. I did it already, yeah, and already been successful when I was in Malaysia, Pak Latif. So based on this book that I have just shown in my, see, yeah. So in this book, I have collect data based on discourse completion task to 100 students from Malaysia and Indonesia, yeah. So I create the students, I create the questionnaire. The first step is gathering demographic questionnaire to know the basic background information about respondent, yeah. For example, what is your age? When were you born? What country were you born? Where do you live now? How long have you lived there for? What is your gender, and so on. So you will gather this demographic questionnaire to know the participant information. That's the first step. The second step in pragmatic research in classroom, yeah, context, you can write a scenario, yeah, that I have already explained. Scenario. If you want to collect 10 situations, means that you have to create 10 scenario. For example, because my research is directive, yeah, yours is expressive. Number one, for example, students asked to repeat the assignment because they get an A. Nah, itu skenario-nya, ya. Murid tadi itu mau minta tolong, ya, menulis atau menjawab ujian kembali atau mengerjakan tugas ulang karena dia dapat E. What will you say? Nah, kemudian students-nya menjawab. Gimana? Agak sulit kan? Kalau sudah dapat E, kemudian minta lagi sama Pak Mas Latif, Pak, boleh nggak aku ujian ulang? Segampang itu. Atau ekspresi-ekspresi apa lagi? Atau strategi bertutur apa lagi yang Anda akan tuliskan? Itu skenario pertama. Anda harus cerdas ya. Disinilah tantangan seorang linguis ya. Yang kedua, for example, student ask for an explanation of the answer to the quiz session from the lecturer. Murid menanyakan tentang penjelasan jawaban dalam kuis itu karena dia nggak paham gimana nanyanya. Nah, pertanyaan jawaban-jawaban itu adalah bentuk direktif sebagai data yang dapat Anda kumpulkan. Yang ketiga, for example, students are permission for being late to class. Datang terlambat, tapi izin mau masuk kelas. Bagaimana caranya? Jadi banyak sekali ya contoh-contoh yang bisa saya berikan ya di dalam buku ini dan teman-teman boleh mengikutinya. Dan sudah banyak sekali linguis di seluruh dunia yang menggunakan discourse completion task ini sebagai metode pengumpulan data yang efektif, ya Pak Latif, murah ya, murah dan hasilnya sangat memuaskan ya. Itu mungkin tambahan dari saya. Siapa namanya? Novia ya. Saya doakan Anda lulus dengan hasil yang bagus dan bisa melanjutkan studi Anda ke jenjang yang lebih tinggi, doktor ya.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih Pak Mas Latif and Ibu Khotmah.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Susi. Yeah, hopefully this explanation will give you another source, yeah, to finish your thesis, yeah, Miss Novia. Okay, for anyone, is there any questions?
Anyone who especially study in your final study about the linguistic, you can also share your research with Bu Susi today, because we are fortunate to have Bu Susi today. Bu Susi has a lot of theory of linguistic, yeah. We have also Ega. Where is Ega? Ega he's studying about Yeah, linguistic as well. Yeah. Ega, can you show your face, please? Yeah, if not, it's okay. Yeah. Fatma, back to you. Please.
Well, if you have no other questions, yeah, for our discussion today, yeah, once again we say massive thanks to our speaker today, Ma'am Susi Herdi Afriani, SSM from PhD, yeah. Hopefully we can not only meet virtually, yeah, Ma'am.
Yeah.
Maybe other time, yeah. Amin, ya Allah, amin. And her experience today hopefully can be positive things for us, especially for me, yeah, who has graduated from master's program in education. I want to continue my study maybe to S3, yeah. Hopefully, Ma'am's experience will inspire us. It means that having kids, marriage is not become an obstacle for us to pursue higher education. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for Sir Mas Latif Dwi Purnomo PhD, and thank you for all the participants in this Zoom meeting. Yeah. See you at the next Graduate Academic Forum. Yeah.
Ya. Saya izin ada pantun satu buat semua. Tanda cinta dari Palembang untuk
Silakan,
semua
Bu Susi.
anak-anak yang sedang berjuang ya di program master. Selesai sudah majelis acara, perkara baik jadi pedoman. Andai ada kesalahan saya bicara, salah silap, mohon saya dimaafkan ya.
Oke. Bagus ya. Cakepnya belakangan, cakep.
Oh, satu lagi Pak, satu lagi ya.
Satu
Jangan
lagi
lupa
nih.
cakepnya ya, anak-anak.
Iya.
Sungguh cantik si anak Dara.
Cakep.
Cakep.
Hmm,
Cakep.
Kalau tersenyum memikat hati.
Cakep.
Cakep.
Kalau tersilap, tutur kata saya yang salah, sekali lagi, maaf dipinta sepenuh hati. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jumpa lagi ya semuanya.
Okay, Bu Susi, thank you so much for your coming today as our speaker.
You're
So
most welcome. My pleasure, Pak.
I have also the pantun for you especially.
Oh, thank you.
Pergi ke pasar bersama Hotma, membeli rakit. Ya. Acara sudah selesai semua, saatnya memberikan Ibu Susi sebuah
Oh, alhamdulillah.
karena saya orang Jawa, saya tidak begitu pandai berpantun ya, Bu Susi. Jadi mohon maaf, I apologize ya. Yeah,
No worry, no worry.
for coming today. Your speaking today insightful for us, and maybe
Thank you.
experience and our experience can inspire our students to have a good spirit to continue their study.
Amin, amin.
Finish their master degree in our university, as well as continue their study to Australia, maybe, or to America, and etc.
Amin.
All right, thank you so much, Bu Susi, for your coming today, for your become a speaker today. And now we are going to give you certificate. Certificate. Please.
Online certificate.
Yeah, online certificate. Yeah.
Thank you very
This is-
much. It is
this-
really appreciated.
Yeah, our administrator will prepare it.
No worry, masih di jalan karena kita jaringan
Waiting,
mungkin
waiting,
Palembang
yeah.
Medan.
Yeah. It's too far.
Iya. Iya. Mudah-mudahan nanti bisa
Ya.
main ke Palembang juga ya, Bu Hotma sama Pak Latif ya.
Okay, sometime we're gonna inviting you to come to Medan. Yeah, on the spot, yeah, on shore, yeah.
Amin, amin ya Rabbal Alamin ya.
Yeah.
Oke,
Alright, this
here
is
we go.
Here we go. The certificate, please. Okay.
Masya Allah,
Oh,
tabarakallah.
Susi Herdi Afriani as our speaker today for the guest lecture, Introduction to Linguistics in English Education, held by our Master's Program of English Education, Faculty of Tarbiyah and Teacher Training, Win of North Sumatra, Medan. Thank you so much, Bu Susi, and
Beautiful. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum.
Bye-bye.
See you again ya.
Yeah. Okay. Ya, oke. Silakan ditutup. Thank you, Hotma. Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, sir.